So we are going to get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Aloni, and I'm with Schneps Media. Schneps Media is the largest local media company in Metro New York. We publish over 70 newspapers, magazines, webinars, websites, podcasts, and events throughout Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, Westchester, Long Island, and Philadelphia. And today we are honored to have with us Donna Stefans from a top Long Island law firm to be able to talk to us about investing in yourself, a financial workshop for women. With Women's History Month upon us, it really is a perfect time to talk about empowering women around their financial life. And today we have just the expert to share with us how to take the right steps to be empowered. Donna Stefans is founder and lead estate and elder law attorney at Stefans Law Group, wealth management advisor, and president of Summit Tax Advisors. Donna is on the board of the Alzheimer's Association and has significant experience supporting caregivers. Donna and her team assist with all parts of one's financial life, from financial planning to tax planning to estate planning, putting all those pieces together. Donna and her team work with each client to empower them to have confidence to manage their own finances, such an important part of our lives. It's my great pleasure to now introduce you to Donna Stefans. Welcome, Donna. I can't wait to learn what you're going to share with us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. I think this is a great time in life and in the environment that we're in to try to think about what we can do as women to empower ourselves to build and maintain our own financial education and our own financial plan in life. Many of us have partners or don't, but either way, for you to have the education to be able to think about saving and planning for your future will help you sleep more at night, knowing that the future of yourself and your family is protected. And I know that very often when you have an idea and you know you need to do something, it swims around in your head and it's very hard to, bring it down to the ground and make something happen, especially when, it's not your forte. What you're good at, that comes easy. But retirement planning and financial planning doesn't come easy for everybody. But you have the ability to take great steps to start the process and then work with professionals. There's a lot of information out there. So today we're going to focus on retirement for you, because nobody's going to give it to you but you, right? And the team that you have around you in your life. So basically, it comes down to three things: maximizing your savings, moderating your spending, and then, of course, taking a balanced approach as to where you put all that money that you're saving and not spending. So you have to find the right investment process that, again, you can handle, you can sleep at night with. So some people are more averse to risk, other people are not. And there's going to be some things you see in here that are going to make you say, oh, I can handle that, or God, no. And that's okay. This is a personal journey and there's nothing right or wrong. It's getting on this path. Now, reality is everybody, when you look at all of the polls out there, everybody wants the same thing in retirement, right? They want to live the lifestyle they currently have, if not better, because they don't have to go to work. And they want to not run out of money. That's another one. That's the fear, right? And, also check off some things on that bucket list they want to do, like the safari in Africa, the stuff you don't have time for today, or whatever the limitations are. So everybody has that. But the issue for women versus men is very different, because women, and nothing in this presentation, I'm just going to say before I even say anything about men, there's no men bashing. This is about the challenges that generally more women face than men. for a lot of reasons. But the good news is, and you'll see, women are being much more educated now than ever before. They're getting bachelor's and master's degrees and PhDs more than ever before. There are more women in the workforce than ever before. And women are getting married later. And having children later. So their beginning of their careers are tending to be, more powerful. However, then as soon as that starts happening, and they start getting into families, or if they don't have families, they have aging parents, women kind of get sidetracked. So they're on the up and up and up. And then all of a sudden they have to take care of mom. They have to take care of dad. I have kids. And of course, the sandwich generation that you probably have heard of. So I am a sandwich, generation. So I have 2 teenagers and I have aging parents. And so I'm looking out for everybody all the time, and part of my life is absolutely hijacked by all of the care I lovingly give my kids. And I do that because I'm a mom. But for many, it means quitting your job. It means, completely leaving the workforce, or part-time, or now we're off the path that we were on, and for all the good reasons. But it stops when you start thinking about retirement planning, and now you want to save, and you got to focus. And if you get hijacked into all the other people you have to take care of, it gets lost, right? So the idea is we want to plan and make a plan that's realistic, that we can go forward with the future. All right, I think we need to do that screen share.
That is so powerful. You really hit it on the head. It's so easy to get derailed, and it's so critical for women to take back their power in this regard, because their financial life is so critical.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to read this to you before I get started, because I found this morning and it was totally dead on. Okay. So pardon me for looking down. It's on my cell phone. It says, she believed she could, and she almost did. But then the pandemic hit. I have to go slow. And someone asked her to do double the amount of work with the same amount of hours in the day. And someone else asked her to be the best version of herself while running on fumes. And she lost track of realistic expectations until she heard all the women talking. And she realized she wasn't alone, and poured another cup of coffee and decided her best was enough.
Wow, that is so powerful. So powerful. There really is something to know that we have almost 100 people right here, right now, who are with each other and holding each other up. That was beautiful.
And that brings big emotion for me, right? Because we're going to do this together. All right. So this is not going to be overwhelming. You might stare at the screen a little and say, oh my God, what are these numbers?
But we can all handle it, and you're here to walk us through it.
All right. Ready? All right. So this is what I'm saying. That's you in the middle there. And these are all the things you have to face. Okay. We have family. We have career, maybe, or have had left, want to come back. I don't know. We have to face longevity, healthcare, caretaking. Investment and savings is in that tiny little corner over there. So no, we need to keep them all important and not let anything fall off. So this is the agenda today. 1, women are taking more control of their future, but the competing priorities hamper retirement planning. And that's what we're going to get rid of. We still face many unique challenges, and therefore we need a tailored financial plan just for us. There's going to be a lot of information, but now we got to bring it down to you, right? And then we are going through a checklist of retirement preparedness, and we're going to build a plan, save early, and invest with confidence if I do my job right today. All right. So this is it. This is the life expectancy chart, right? I'm going to talk about us. So if you make it to age 65, odds are really good you're going to live till 75. The purple is the women. And still really great, 73% of women over age 80. And you see it goes down over time. But what you also see that goes down is men's life expectancy is always less in every category. We outlive the men. We kind of all know that. But it also means that we become caretakers. And it also means that we could get hurt caretaking. And then when we are living longer, who's there to take care of us? So again, these are trends and generalities. These aren't going to be your specific family, obviously, but it's what I see on a constant in my practice. So okay, good news. Women are being more educated than ever before. That purple line there, look at the number. It's just going up and up and up, and much more than men. What's interesting is that this was women in the workplace. If you go to the year 2000, right? The highest year, 60% of women in the workplace is in the year 2000. And then it went down in 2017 for reasons, you know, maybe husbands were making more and wives had to work less, or, you know, it's a strange trend over a period of time, but the markets were up. The economy was up 2017, that whole time period. It was really, really a prosperous time. So you have to wonder about that. Keeping your power, if you are working, can be an incredible thing to do. Nevertheless, we're making up more overall of the population, 47%. I mean, compared to 1948, which is post-World War II, look, we're doing great, you know. Here's the problem. More women work part-time than men. So even though we're 47% of the workforce, 24% are part-time. Now, it's fine to work part-time, but when we're talking about retirement planning and thinking about what Social Security looks like and that future, part-time workers, they get obviously paid less. They're working part-time. And so the promotions and everything that goes along with it in many instances. So why do we switch to part-time? You know, go to part-time. Well, it's usually that caretaker component, right? It's the kids, it's the parents, it's the everything else you have to take care of outside. And it mostly falls on women. In fact, women, if they are caring for others, regardless of the age, it's more than 20 hours a week. So if you're working full-time and then 20 hours plus, and that's an average, caring for people, it's hard. Men don't do that, you know, most men don't do that. Anyway, so, and more older people are working longer. And I didn't say old. I don't think 50 to 64 is old. But the later stage, meaning the middle age stage, are working more. Also, women are getting married later, which is what I said before. You know, they're getting their careers going, they're getting degrees going, and having children later. So getting that, if you have any young millennials in your life, this is the time to share with them, hey, start saving now. Let's talk about a mutual fund. Do you have a 401k at work? Let's start investing in it. And even if it's $100 a month, I had started my first job at 22, and I worked out on Wall Street. And so finance was in my blood, and my mother is my mentor. She's actually my business partner in our financial planning practice. And so I'm working for this mutual fund company, and they had the 401k meeting, and everybody's talking about how much they should put in from their paycheck. And they said, well, do 3% because that's the company match, which is a good start. And I called my mom. I'm like, Mom, what do I do? She said, put the max in. Max out your 401k. I'm like, Mom, I'm 22. Max out your 401k. She's like, you could do it. She goes, and it's the most important thing you could do for yourself right now. She's like, and you won't have to pay income tax on the money. And I did. I listened to my mother. I was like, okay. And so I only worked at this company for 3 years, right? And then I let the account sit. And I let it sit and sit and sit. And that account quadrupled in like 7 or 8 years time. And I still have that account. And it's been going, skyrocketing ever since. Now this is 22. I don't have to tell you my age, but it's been a while. But anyway, so point being, the little bits that you can do right from the get-go will compound going further. So okay, so we're having kids later, but then do we go like this and get hijacked? I don't know. Another interesting point, the gray divorce. A lot of women are increasingly getting divorced after age 50. That's that blue line on top. And what that means is they have to take care of themselves. One income, maybe one Social Security, maybe half the assets that they thought they had. And so there needs to be savings along the way so that you're prepared for retirement. We don't know what's going to happen. What we do know is that most of the time, women are initiating divorce, which is like a big change from the past. And I guess that's good and bad news. People not staying in places that they shouldn't be, being more independent. But, you know, it's not good news. Divorce is not good news. But you can empower yourself to be there if you need to be. And then of those women, I like the last bar about women, 54% of them said they're not going to do that again. They're not getting married again. Less men want to get remarried. Who knows? So anyway.
You recommend that women who are thinking about divorce think about their finances? Because I'm sure a lot of women think about getting divorced, but do they plan financially for themselves for divorce?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. Yes, when we do financial planning meetings, it's called divorce financial planning. And when we do those meetings, we look at what the assets are. We look at what your income is, if you have income, and what you can afford to live on, because there's things that you have to pay. I mean, are you buying a house? Are you renting something? What are you going to do? What's the next step? And it actually makes a lot of divorces go a lot easier when there is, anyway, pre-planning on your own for expectation. 1, 2, and you could actually do divorce financial planning together. It's almost like a financial mediation. And it can be very, very helpful. It doesn't always work, obviously, but it instead of getting shocked in the face, like, oh my God, I'm on my own. Now what do I do? I'm lost. I'm broke. I'm nothing. You're methodically planning for the next chapter. And it's
empowering.
Yep.
Empowering.
I'm going to go right by this slide, but all this really is going to tell you is that, you know, cost of care, medical care, when you're 65, it's a lot lower than when you are older. So keep that in mind. Okay. And I'm not going to get into long-term care. Here's the thing about care, right? 66% of the women, right, are the caregiver population, 34% of them men. And what does that do? Now you're a caretaker. You got hijacked out of your career. Your Social Security on the right side just went down because you're not earning. You know, you're not getting those 40 quarters in under your own record, right? The men, 66% of the men are like, I'm not giving up my job to care for somebody. No way. And, you know, again, not everyone, but this is a big deal. And, you know, we do our best to pour our hearts out. I don't know, maybe it's because we're just nurturers by that, you know, XX chromosome. I don't know, but this is what happens, norms. But in the end, you know, it's lost wages. If you're lucky enough to have a pension, that's going to curtail, and Social Security. But look at the numbers, right? The third one down, 27% of the women just quit their job and they're done to caretake. Only 10% of the men, right? I mean, we automatically are the go-to. And I'm not judging anybody for quitting their job to go take care of somebody they love, by all means. But this is how, if you're not methodically still paying attention to how am I going to get to retirement, you're not going to have it at the end of the day. And you're going to care for everybody else, and you're not going to care for yourself. And nobody else is going to come, on the white horse to say, oh, mom, you did all that caretaking, so let's all take care of you now. Maybe it'll happen, but I don't know if you can guarantee that'll happen. But you can guarantee if you stick to your plan, you make it happen. Either which way, this chart is bad. 42% reduced work hours, 39% took a significant time off. It just, we sacrifice. We do. The other problem is that women by nature are not risk takers. So we wind up, when we need to do proper investing, we get skittish about it. And we need to empower the money that we do make to grow, right? So this chart is really saying like that the blue average risk or below, women don't want to take risks. Men are okay with that diversity. So fact, here we are at the end of everything I just said, right? Women are living longer and are more educated than ever. That's the good news. Women make up more than half the workforce. Family is still important, but more women are pushing off getting married and families till later, and then more people are getting divorced. But it all comes at a cost. One, healthcare costs. They're going to be big in retirement for women, and they have to focus on it, and long-term care. And again, we're more likely to leave the workforce for care and take care of any number of people at any number of ages. And, we're not putting the power behind our money. So, we need to come up with a good plan. I keep repeating myself, but I can't say how hard, but how do you build the plan? Okay. Well, focus on what you can control, right? You can't control a lot of that other stuff, but you can control putting away a certain amount of money every month. You can do that. Now, you can expect great things from retirement, but you got to get that first plan done. We have to figure out how to maximize your Social Security benefit and understanding the markets and participating in the markets. And by the way, stop watching the news when they say the sky is falling, the market's falling. And then you got 10 different newscasters on 10 different radio stations and podcasts and everything else you watch and listen to. Oh, Apple News on your phone, freaking people out. I very often have clients coming into the office and they're like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I'm like, okay, we're going to breathe. We're going to do something. Well, I'm going to talk about what we're not going to do. Okay. But again, I bring back Marilyn, my mother. The reality of the matter is, people don't plan to fail. We all want this great retirement and life and lifestyle, but they just fail to plan. And I always remember that. So, okay, what can we control? We can control our savings versus spending in some instances, and we can decide where we want to put our money, right? Earnings and employment, we have some things we can control. Longevity. We can't control market returns. We know that. And we cannot control politics. We know that. These days, before anything else, it is what it is. The vote counts, but what they're doing, tax law changes and everything else, we don't. So we have to play the game the way they want to play it. But the savings versus spending one is an interesting one because there's something called dollar cost averaging, in which you take a certain amount of money a month and you put it away, right? And what I recommend to people, depending on the person, say you could only do $100 a month. $100 a month you could spend in a drugstore with in a pinch. right? I'm serious. Like I go there all the time. I have a new hairbrush. I got some nail polish. I have snacks and oh, that's a nice lipstick. I swear to God, I'm like, okay, now what do I do? And I just spent, $150 and whatever, and if that $100,
Like small investments, it's $5 here, $4 there, but it adds up.
yeah. But if that $100 just got swiped out of my bank account and went right into something else, into an investment, at the end of the year, without even thinking, I'd have $1,200 saved. Right? I mean, most people, not most, but many can't write a $1,200 check today to put into something, not without planning it first. But then, so what if, and then we did the same thing next year, it's $2,400 with growth. Then it's $3,600, then it's $4,800. You're going to get places and the growth is going to get you there that you're going to see, but you have to do something. So $100 a month is small, but it's a great start. And when I was, same time period, 22, and I'm like, Wall Streeting, a friend of mine was getting married. It was my first friend getting married. And, again, I'm making $22,000 a year. I'm maxing out the 401k and working in Manhattan. I don't have a lot of money. So for her wedding present, I gave her $150 and a mutual fund application. And I set her and her husband down, and I set them up on that $100 a month systematic investment. And they were psyched, like, oh, we're married, we're responsible, we're going to start saving. And that was the money. They wound up accumulating $10,000. And that was the money that was the down payment on their first house.
I love
So
that theory.
It works. It does. All right. So what do we do? This is about you. Okay. If you have a pencil and a pen or your cell phone calculator, you can.
Donna, just quickly, Marie had a question. She wanted to know, what would you recommend for cash investments besides bank CDs? You mentioned about, and maybe that's what you're going to get into, but.
Oh, I will. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So Marie, hang in there. We're going to get there.
Hang in there, Marie. Here's your calculator first, right? Now, we're going to go, how do you know today if you have enough money for retirement? I don't want to scare anybody, but you got to look at this stuff, right? You can't just shove this under the rug. So let's see how this chart works. On the top bar is the salary. So if you're making $100,000 today, and now go down a sidebar and say you're 40 years old, or pick a number. Elizabeth, what number? What age?
50.
50. Okay, you're 50 years old. If you take that 100,000 times 4.4, multiply that, that's $440,000. That's what you need today in order to be able to have $100,000 a year in income in retirement.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And that's based on, if you look on the right, it's a 10% savings rate and it's an inflation rate of 2%, and it's about a 5% return on the investment. Like that 100,000, how you can take that money out.
It's so important to know this. I mean, Donna, this is like, how could you ever expect to retire if you don't even know this?
Right. Right. So you may not have $440,000, and that's okay, right? Because we're going to get somewhere, right? Don't beat yourself over the head over this. This wasn't to make you feel bad. Again, we're all picking up that cup of coffee together, and we're saying we're going to do this, okay? And then this is about Social Security. Social Security, this is a kind of a scary looking chart, but I'll take you through it fast. At the top, if full retirement age, if you are born before 1954, is age 66, and then go straight down to the bottom. Okay, age 67 is for anybody born in 1960 or later. So just keep looking at the bottom. If we take our retirement early, which we can at 62, right, you're going to receive about 70% of the benefit that what you would get at 62. If you waited 5 years, you would get 100% of the benefit. And if you waited till you're 70, you're going to get 124% of the benefit. So this is a critical planning tool. And I want you to write this down some way, somehow. Okay. if you haven't done so already, I would like you to go to the Social Security website, right? And it's ssa.gov, G-O-V, right? And when you go there, usually on the bottom left-hand corner, there's something that says My Social Security. And that's for you. That is your portal into the Social Security website with all of your benefits, tailored to you. It's what they have on you. And so, that letter that comes sometimes, you can see your benefit. And it tells you if you retire at 62, you're going to get this. 67, you're going to get this. 70, you're going to get this. If you are, base it on these calculators of 40 quarters. So if you're in your higher earning years right now, that letter is going to keep changing because your benefit's going to go up. If you're not working, they're going to base it off of the numbers that they have, right? Okay. So I'm going to tell you, the best thing you can invest in yourself is in Social Security. For every year you don't take Social Security, this is a very important number. For every year you don't take Social Security, it's an extra 8% every year. There's nowhere else, Marie, you can guarantee 8% on anything. So the longer you wait, and by the way, if you start taking Social Security early and you're still working, if you don't have to take Social Security, you're going to get taxed on Social Security. And so now you're taking it early, you're only getting 70% of the benefit, and you're getting income tax on it. Slice off another 20 to 30% of it there. Why bother? There's ways that we can supplement from other areas until Social Security starts at a place that is good. So I'm not saying everybody should wait. It's a personal journey, right? You really got to look at these things with an advisor and see how all the buckets fit together. But, it's not an automatic. A lot of people go, start taking it at 62 because I'm going to get it longer. Well, yeah. I mean, look, if you're 62 and you died at 66, you win. You're right. But if you die at 86, you lose, right? Because you just lost so much money every year, like $100,000 or so.
Everyone can make their decision, but we should all be making these decisions from a place of being informed. At least
Correct.
know what decision you're making and what impact that's gonna have on your financial future.
Correct. Absolutely. But here's one more thing on Social Security, because I could spend an hour on it. But these are things you should know, right? So say you were the person that stayed home, took care of the kids, the mother, this, father, this, that, and your husband was the spouse, husband, whichever, was the, I don't know everybody's scenarios here, but your spouse was the breadwinner. All right. They have a huge Social Security record. You have nothing. When you retire, you can take 50% of their record benefit. So if there's $2,000 a month, you get $1,000 a month. They still get whatever they get, but you get $1,000 a month. Okay. And then there's a couple of conditions. Well, you got to be married, right? For at least 1 year before filing. Imagine the scams. Oh, let's get married. I'm going to take your Social Security. No. Where you need to be married. You need to be 62. But the divorce situation is interesting. If you were married for 10 years or more, and now you're divorced for 2 years, you can still take it on your ex-husband's record forever, right? So you just can't get remarried, because then if you get remarried, then you go to the next spouse's record. So maybe that's one of the reasons why in the prior slide, all these women are like, I'm not getting remarried. I'm gonna cash in on Social Security.
Good point. Good point.
And widows, unfortunately, and this is a tough part of my the other worlds, my estate planning and elder law worlds, when I have my lawyer hat on, which is not today, we have widows, right? So you have two spouses, they're living in retirement, they both have Social Security, and typically what I see is the husband has a higher Social Security and a big pension, and then the spouse dies. So now we've lost one Social Security. The widower gets to take the higher of the two. So that's okay, but they only got one. So they had two, now they only have one. Same expenses basically, except for a little bit less food. You still have housing and everything else. And then a lot of the pensions, bad decisions were made and they pick pensions to die with the spouse. So now the spouse lost the pension, they lost the Social Security, they have one left, and they're like left there. So pension planning and how you take that pension benefit is another huge part of the when you're ready to retire planning that should not be overlooked, and no automatic assumptions. All right.
Donna, we had a question from an attendee in terms of claiming your taxes, and this might not be a question that pertains to you, but whether you claim a spouse or individual, does that affect your financial well-being as well?
Claiming them as a dependent?
No, if
like doing a tax return together?
Yeah,
if you're the letter of the law is and that's really all I can attest to on the computer on the Zoom today, is that if you're married, you're supposed to file together, but you either could do married filing separately or married, right? In most instances, when we run numbers, because that's what we do in our tax practice at Summit Tax Advisors, that's the other part of what we do. We'll run it if there's reasons to be separated. So if two people are getting divorced, but they're married, sometimes they stay married for, I don't know, healthcare reasons or whatever, or they're waiting for it to all come through and they want to be separate, then they do separate tax returns. But if they're still married, and there's penalties for that, the IRS does not like that. Married filing jointly usually does work better, but it's very individualized and it really depends on who's making what amount of income. Tough to answer exactly.
Really case by case basis. Another question too about when you were talking about the ex-spouse and how you can get a percentage of their Social Security benefit. Does it take a portion away from them?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. That's it. That's it. I mean, maybe some people would like to see that happen, but no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You just get to tap into that number.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those questions.
All right, so this is where it gets a little nitty gritty here. Okay, hang on. So we're going to go back to Marie for a minute, and there's different. And you got to take out your pencil again. There's basically three ways four that you can consider the types of investment style. Okay, the fourth is real estate, and we're not going to talk about real estate today. We're going to talk about things you can do with your money. You can invest in cash, and over long projected horizons, like turn of the century to now, like turn of the 1900s to now, the cash market earns between 1% and 3%. And you know what those things are. It's money markets, CDs, it's savings accounts, things like that. And right now they are just, oh my God, I can't even look at them. It's pathetic to go to the bank and you get 1%. And the bank is making more money on your money than you are. But that's fact. It's about 1% to 3% earning. The bond market is 3% to 6%. And then the stock market average annual returns historically is 7% to 12%. Now, I don't want to be all in the stock market. I can't do this high, low, high, low, high, low. I don't have the stomach for it. And frankly, in the end of the day, you're going to see it's not better to be, risk and reward go together, but not too high risk. Like you don't want to be too high risk and too low risk. This middle ground is really where you want to be. So if we look at the chart, right, there's basically three buckets you should put your money. Okay. One, the green circle, that is cash that you need for immediate living expenses. And that's 3 to 6 months. Some would beg to differ about what that means, because the pandemic happened and then nobody had jobs. Like people didn't have jobs and it was longer than 6 months. And if you had that 6 months nest egg, at least just pay the essentials, you could get by. But people really struggled and people were not ready for that. They thought, well, I'll get another job if I lose my job. It's not a big deal. I got to pay this. I got to take care of that. I don't have time to do that kind of savings. That is what you should have first. If you don't have the 3 to 6 months expenses saved, start there, get it in the hatch, get it done, right? And keep your own savings account. Put the $100 a month over there in a place where nobody's getting it. I won't touch it because it's in this one account. I'm not going to touch unless I need it. So that's first. Then we go to midterm goals, 5 to 10 years. And you can see things like college, buying a house, a car, you know you're going to need it. You're going to need a chunk of money. That money should grow, right? That's not short-term money. There's highs and lows and different things that happen in the markets, but it could take the ride. And then long-term goals should even be more equity-based investments, long-term time horizon, retirement. And then when people retire, they still have a long time horizon. So, you know, some people go, oh, do the target date fund that's in the retirement plan. And then it ticks away, and closer to retirement you go, the more bond you have, and then you're almost all in cash by the end. And you may be missing the whole market. Now, maybe that works for you, but if you do the right thing by you, or at least get the advice as to what you should be doing, it's not going to be at cash by the time you're 65. It's going to keep going. And if you look at the bottom here, right, if you see, if you did a 50-50 portfolio, first of all, if you did all stock, which is the blue, right, you'd be up 47% in a year, or you could be down 39% in a year, right? This is a performance period of 1950 to 2019. If you did bonds, well, you didn't go up as much, and you definitely didn't go down as much. But if you did the purple, the range is better. You know, even on a 1 year, up 33%, down 15, it's still better. You know, you're not so volatile. So even bonds themselves can be more volatile if not done right. When we get to the pick one, the 10-year, right? The stock market up 19, down 1. But the asset allocation, the overall, up 16, up 2. And if you go to 20 years, it's up 14 and up 5. Over time, the more time you do this, the better your returns and the smoother the ride. All right, this is the one. Don't freak out, everybody. I just blew your brains out. I'm sorry. I don't mean to do that. This is a chart. This is the periodic table of investing. And really, there's a very simple point to this. If you look at the top, it says years 2005 to 2019. Okay, that's the years. And the sidebar on the left shows you each of the type of assets: fixed income, cash, high yield bonds, small cap, large cap, asset allocation, real estate, equity, commodities, and emerging market equity. Okay, now if you look at the top and just look at the colors on the top bar all the way across, Elizabeth, do you see any consistent pattern?
I see a lot of that like maroonish color, but
But
no.
a consistent pattern, anything?
No.
No, right?
Mm.
Like, and pick any color. It's not up there too long.
True.
So when we look at, so we can go to the REIT, the real estate investment trust. It's not a very liquid asset, which is not why it's not my favorite. But we start in 2005. It was in the middle. 2006 at the top. So in at the end of 2006, I'm like, oh my God, I can make a lot of money in this. Let me put it in. 2007, the worst performing asset class. And in 2008, pretty much down there. Oh wait, popped up in 9. Wait, I wasn't paying attention anymore because it wasn't really doing much. Wait, 2010, 11, 12, best performing asset class again. And then it goes down again, and it goes up. Every single one of the individual markets, I don't care what color you pick, they all look like this. Even, you know, bonds, you know, even cash made it up to the top 1 year. But I don't want to do this, right? I want to be the white. I want to be the asset allocation, the one that's actually plotted out. Okay. When you look at that plot, it's telling you this is going to ride the waves. It's going to go up. It's going to go down, but it's going to go like this all the way through. It's never going to be the best performer, but it's never going to be the worst performer. So that division of diversification of stock, bonds, and cash empowers your money to grow much more safely than one asset class, you know, even cash, believe it or not. And this is why cash is a problem.
Donna, what is REIT?
REIT?
Sasha was asking.
Yeah, REIT is a real estate investment trust. Okay, oh. So it's a real estate investment where a corporation buys a bunch of real estate, and then so for example, there's one that I know that's the theme of it is grocery store anchored shopping centers. So there's a grocery store and then a bunch of stores with it. And the grocery store is the draw. And then, of course, these other stores do well because the grocery store is there. And think about this year, right? The grocery store. But yeah, that was it. Like, this is the place to be. So they pay rent, and, so you buy the property into the portfolio. There's rent paid, there's dividends paid, and it's a whole big thing. And then eventually at some point, the real estate closes out and the portfolio is sold and you get your money back. But it's a technical investment only meant for people who are not touching their money because you don't know when it's going to be liquid, right? So I don't love that asset class, especially for the shorter time horizons.
Thank you for the explanation. Thank you.
Welcome. All right, here's the problem with cash. Everybody says, I have cash, I'm going to put it in the bank. Oh, savings accounts, I have to do these things like this. And then I don't have to worry about the market. I don't have the ability to stomach it. This is what we call going broke safely. And this is why, okay? If you look at the blue bar all the way across, that is inflation. Inflation is your worst enemy. And we don't talk about it much because it's on the lower side at the moment these days, but your purchasing power has got to keep up with your dollar, right? And so we go back to earlier years, you can see, right? Let's take 2006, right? In a savings account, you would have earned $4,110, and income generated in a cash account, it was a little higher. Now, the inflation was low. So you were beating inflation by keeping your money in the bank. That's okay. But now go forward 2 years, 2008 forward. If you kept your money in the bank, you have not been able to keep up with your purchasing power. So today, that dollar is not a dollar. That is not a dollar anymore. So where it says your income generated in your savings account, right? $640. Inflation was much higher than that. And then $2,099 in income producing instrument in cash, guaranteed. You're guaranteed. You can't have the power to spend behind your money, right? And it's take any item, right? Take any item that you own. 20 years ago, it cost less than now. And so you have to outbeat inflation. Otherwise, and I see it very often in retirees that didn't have any experience in investing. They come in and they have whatever they saved. They worked really, really hard, but it's usually an eighth of what I see of a similar type of person, a similar type of family and careers that put it in the market. I mean, it's doubling, tripling, quadrupling over lifetimes. And so where is the risk? The risk is the people that keep it all in cash. There's a risk, a higher risk, that they're going to run out. And that's one of those things we don't want to do in retirement. So cash, there's a space and a place for it, but it's got to be the right space in this space. And remember that, especially that 6-month nest egg, bigger expenditures. Okay. Now this is the equity side of it. Go to the right, go all the way to the right on the chart. Okay. The green is the S&P 500. That's strictly stock. The blue is the blend of stocks and bonds. So much less risky because it's got 40% bonds in it, not all stock. And then the opposite, 40% stock and 60% bonds. So you can obviously see that if you were in the green and all stock, yes, you made more money, right? But when we look at how much more money, at the end of 2019, the stock market fell, right? It went up on all these gyrations all the way through. And then we had a drop at the end of December 19. Look at the differential between the green and the blue. It's so small. It's 5%, not even 5%, 0.5%. So it's teensiest tiny difference, right? So if you look at the blue line, go back to 2008. That's when the markets fell hard. We remember, right? The S&P went way down, right? But look at the asset allocation. It went down, but not even close. And then when it came back up, it took till 2014 for the S&P 500 to come back to where the asset allocation portfolio was. So far down, so far up, and at the end of 20 years, it's 0.5% difference. So the asset allocation can be powerful, help you sleep at night, and say, look, this is a 60-40 is still a little lot for me. The 40-60, still not that much of a difference. The 40-60, the difference between the 60-40 and the 40-60, 0.2%. Nothing, very little, nothing. So this is where you want to be.
This is a really powerful chart. Really helps help you understand that really you can manage your risk and still do well.
Do better.
Yeah, good point.
And unfortunately, look on the right, you see that little orange bar? 1.9%, that's what the average investor made. Because they're not allocating right and they're not getting the right advice. And this is the problem. This is a crazy chart, right? From January 2000 to December 31st, 2019, okay? If you took $10,000 for 20 years and you missed the best 10 days in the market, you went from 32,000 to 16,000. You would have made, if you just stayed in for the 20 years, $32,000 by doing nothing, just staying in the asset allocation. You would have made 32,000. But if you missed the best 6 days of the market, the 10, you're down to 16%. In 20 years, 10 days. If you missed the best 20 days in the market, you made $167. If you missed the best 60 days, you lost 7%. Your 10,000 went down to $2,331. It's the time in the market that matters, not the timing. People go, oh my God, the stock market's at an all-time high. I'm not going to go in now. You don't know that. I mean, the charts of what the markets look like from January of last year to this year, March last year, it was terrible. But where it went to from there, not only came back, went skyrocketed. I don't know what's next. But when we diversify and then, let portfolio managers of these mutual funds do their job, because they're picking the companies, they know the macroeconomics, microeconomic trends, and all the detail. They've got boards and boards of computers all around them and big teams to do that. But we stay with our models. We stay with that. Which model you can sleep well at night, what your time horizon is, what does it mean to you, and how much can we give to ourselves in investing?
Jeannie wanted to know, can you help people that are outside of New York, or do you
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's lots of Zoom in these days, and we actually have clients all over the country, even in different parts of the world.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, okay, the takeaways, right? Women have been taking over many crucial aspects of life: marriage, family, education, work. We've been we are empowered. We know we can do it, but we get hijacked and we need to prepare, taking care of our families. There's still the gender gap pay. Unfortunately, it's still there, but we're working on it. So we maximize our saving, manage our spending, and invest in the market. Let's do something. Of course, we have to think about long-term care. In April, I'm going to be doing another workshop on long-term care planning and asset protection planning from the law side. But the long-term care planning, how you're going to pay for that, is a big part of that conversation. And you have to make retirement planning a priority. You do, because nobody's going to do it for you.
And tomorrow you'll get an email with Donna's contact information and also the link to that webinar so that you can sign up and join us for that one in April.
I wanted to give you the tax season tips of the year. All right. Now, if you've never prepared your own tax return before, or you weren't in charge of that job, or you are in charge of that job, this sort of is going to hone it in. Now, in our tax practice, our clients know we want a folder, right? Or, I mean, don't think about the online stuff right now because that's a little different. But generally, what you have to do is this, okay? Get a folder. I don't care if you pick one of your kids' old second grade folders. Just get a folder. And every single form that comes in the mail that says important tax document, put it in there. Just put it in there. Deal with it later. Some people come to our office with a pile load of unopened envelopes, and that's okay. That's good, actually. We know we're not missing anything. Important tax documents. 1. 2, you are going to be adding up your charitable contributions. This is a new one this year. And it says that because we lost under the tax law that was put in place last year, we lost the ability to do itemized deductions. It really did hurt New Yorkers, but everybody else too, because unless you had certain things going on, you lost your ability to do the charitable contribution deduction. But now they changed the law this year and said, look, if you do charitable deductions, but you don't have enough deductions of other things, but you have to take the standard deduction, we're going to give you a $300 credit. You still have to keep your receipts if we check it. So everybody now gets a charitable contribution deduction. One is a credit if you do standard filings, and one is in the same old itemizing. But yeah, this is where accountants this year are more important than ever before. Okay, there's a lot of problems going on in this whole tax world, and I'll tell you in a second. 1, 2, make a tally of your medical expenses, things you don't think about. How many times did you go to the drugstore? How many times did you get things that were prescriptions or non-prescription, holistic stuff? Keep the log, keep a list, put all of them in one little envelope. Don't even open it. Just put them in there and kind of come up with a tally. The drugstore list, your co-pays for doctors, the dentist, the orthodontist, there's a bill that'll blow your mind. Like, right? I'm on that one now. That's a big deduction people don't think about. Or implants, all that stuff. Deductible, deductible, deductible. I don't have them. I'm just pointing to teeth. Just for the record, not yet. And then assisted living costs, that's a huge one. And then anything having to do with hospitals, rehabs, nursing homes, huge. So, and long-term care insurance, there's a deduction for that. And any supplemental insurance you have. Also, things mortgage interest, real estate taxes. In New York, we only have a cap of $10,000. Everybody's capped. But in New York, if you live here, real estate taxes are not $10,000. They're much higher. So we're kind of getting screwed by the old law, but they haven't fixed that yet. Anyway, work expenses used to be all deductible. You should still collect all your receipts. I'll tell you why. Work expenses, financial advisory fees that are in people's portfolio work, they are deductible, just not federally. So we put them in that section, and you're still going to get a tax deduction on the state. So don't forego it because they're saying, oh, that doesn't count anymore. Union dues, it all counts. It just is counting only in certain areas. So don't be fooled by that. And
so many people probably have new work expenses if they're working from home.
Right. Well, they were sort of curtailing that one because everybody wants to do the work from home thing, right? Okay. If your employer pays you and gives you the laptop and really covers your expenses, you don't get the deduction. I mean, for the electric
for like printer and printer ink and that type of thing.
They don't want to hear it. It's really one of those things. Okay. And there's a slippery slope with that. But there's a couple things you still need to know. This is where that retirement planning comes back in. Here's your power right on this screen. Invest in yourself. Your 401k, your 403b, your 457. Okay. You can deduct up to $19,500 a year. Okay. And if you're over 50, you can add another $6,500. And then, and that's huge, right? So it's right there. It comes right out of your paycheck and gross. So $1 is only like putting in 70 cents. That's how it'll feel because you're not paying any tax on this money. So it's coming out before tax. So many people, I tell people, do it, because I would rather you pay yourself than you write a check to the IRS for taxes. That's the name of the game here. So if you have access to them, you do those. Then there's also IRAs and Roth IRAs. Now, spouses that don't work, and they can do an IRA, right? And then without earned income. But other people, you need earned income. If you just work and you don't have a plan at work, you can do an IRA, and that's $6,500, and there are some catch-ups. And then if you can, and this is for the younger people, mostly I say younger people, because if you can do a Roth IRA, it's a huge investment because it's after tax dollars that grows tax-free forever and ever. And so when you put in that $10,000 and you made it to 32 on that chart I showed, that 22,000 in gain, no tax, period, end of discussion. And why I say the younger people, because they're the ones that are usually making less money. And so there's thresholds on if you can do a Roth. Once you start making a certain level of income, you're out of the box and you can't do them anymore. So you take advantage of those Roths, or a combination of a regular and Roth. But when you can, of course, anybody should do it, given the right conditions. So keep in mind. Last but not least on this, if you have more than $5 million in New York, in your estate, in your total assets between insurance, house, everything else, you have to start paying attention to estate taxes. You're going to get killed in what we call the New York estate tax cliff. So you're going to die, and your estate is going to lose lots of money to the government if you don't plan that right. Federally, it's 11 million, but New York State, it's 5 million, and it's not pretty. So talk to somebody, start looking at that if that's you.
Donna, Maureen wanted to know, because I just see that you have their gift tax. Maureen wanted to know that she assisted some people financially during the pandemic. Is that anything she can claim on her taxes?
No, not really. If somebody is truly your dependent, meaning they live with you and you provide more than 50% of their support, then yes. But you can't just, it's very nice goodwill. Thank you for doing that. But it's not really. There's not really, unless you gave it to a charitable organization and they gave them the money,
Got it. Thank you.
So, but then the gift tax thing, this $15,000 per person per year. Everybody knows about this $15,000 per person per year that you could give. So I could give everybody on this call $15,000. You're welcome. And it won't take away from your estate taxes. But important, very important. This is serious stuff right now, guys. Number one, the tax filing deadline is April 15th. It's not July. They're not extending it. It's a mess. And they can't go back to what they did in July. One, so you get the tax return done. If you owe money, well, you know that what you have to do by April 15th. You don't have to write that check till April 15th if you owe money. Get it done. And then that way, you know what you owe. Instead of it, oh my God, I can't do my taxes. I know I'm going to owe money. I'm not even going to go there. No. And then you sweat it out for 2 months. Just get it done. It's not going to change, So you get it done, you file, and you get the funds later. The other thing is with these Roth IRAs and IRAs, you have until April 15th of this year to do a contribution for 2020. So if you didn't do it, and I can take a nice tax deduction, again, we often do this when we look at tax returns. We compare, like if I did the IRA or not do the IRA, how much do I owe? How much is my refund? And if I owe, but I owe less because I put money into my IRA, I'm going for that. Once that check goes to the IRS, it's gone. Once it goes into your IRA, it's yours for life. Other issues.
Donna, does your team help people with their taxes, or if you're working?
Yes, we do. So there's 3 teams. There's Summit Tax Advisors. That is an income tax practice. Marilyn Stefans and myself head that. The financial planning practice, Wealth Advisory Associates, is also headed by Marilyn and myself. And then the third practice that isn't affiliated is Stefans Law Group. And that is the estate planning and elder law practice that is run by myself. And each one of these practices has a team. So there's a team of accountants, a team of advisors, and then in the law, a team of lawyers. So yes, no, we do tax returns.
You're not kidding about helping people from every angle of their financial world. That's nice. That's really.
Yeah, so my brain can kind of go in like in the direction of, well, this is the tax implication. Well, this is what this looks like. Well, and I can see the whole plan for sure. And it can be very beneficial to people to understand that, instead of like, I'd hate to say, I can't help you when I can. Important data. This is important. They just came out with this, I think last night, that it's possible that your 2020 unemployment benefits are partially not going to be taxable. I don't know how they're going to apply that. It might even happen on next year's tax return, but either way, that's a possibility that some of what you got left, because normally unemployment benefits are taxable and people don't know that. And you got to bring that to tax season. If you got a 1099-G, you got to bring it. Okay, you need that. And some people did tax withholding. Some people didn't even think of tax withholding. They never got unemployment before. This is all new. It's taxable income. So be aware and be prepared. And I don't even know what they're doing now. I mean, this, like I said, this just got announced, hot off the press. And that's one. Two, there's still a lot of fraud going on with other people filing other people's tax returns, and other people trying to apply for other people's unemployment benefits. So, example, you go to work every day, and your employer calls you into the office and says, "Hey, I got a letter that you applied for unemployment, but you're working every day." And you go, "What? What are you talking about?" There's people actually going in and claiming other people's unemployment. It's bad. So it's always good to go check with New York State, the New York State Department of State. Check your record.
What about,
make sure that's not you.
Sheila wants to know, what about the stimulus payments? Are those
stimulus? Which one?
Okay. We're getting.
Yeah, stimulus checks are not taxable. There is something though, if you in fact didn't get the second check, you were supposed to get the second check, there's something you do on the tax return for that. And then we wait for the third one, whatever that's going to be. That's still in flux too, I think. I'm all yours, guys. Now it's questions. I have nothing else here.
I've been throwing those questions to you for the most time, but I do have a couple questions. I do want to respect everyone's time, but I do want to ask just a couple questions. Dorothy asks, she's 70 years old, and she might come into $40,000 paying rent on Section 8. She wants to know, she was thinking about, like, can she make a living from that? And she was thinking about doing a small business, a beauty shop, laundry, a laundromat, buy land. What do you think is the best use of these funds to be able to support her?
Okay. Well, as far as opening a business goes, it's a really tough decision. And what I would encourage you to do is to sit down and actually write out all the costs, not just the startup costs, but the cost of what it would take to run that business over a year if you didn't have a dime coming in income from it. So that's what we often see how businesses fail. They have to be able to sustain themselves before they get known and out there. So that's one. Run the budget. I don't know what it costs to own and run a laundromat. I haven't done that one, but there's others that I have, and I can't say what it will cost for you to do those options. But you got to have much more backing behind you than the 40,000 to cover the time periods. If there, you saw through the presentations, you can certainly invest it. And if you don't need the money right now, that over time is, can, with the asset allocation work, double, triple, quadruple, and certainly be there for you in different ways going forward when you're putting in the market.
Is not going to be a quick turnaround windfall.
It never usually is.
Thank you for that. We had a question about, what are your thoughts on saving in a yield account?
In a high, well, I mean, so right now, interest is really, really low. So if you lock into anything and interest rates go up, if you lock in something at 1% and then interest rates go to 5, you're gonna be stuck with your 1% and then you're gonna lose money. 1% is not getting you anywhere with inflation. Inflation, look at 3% as an average. So you're not making 3% or more, you're not keeping up with your money. But if it's in that shorter term bucket, the immediate liquidity, 3 to 6 months to a year of living expenses, then, I mean, it has to be there first. Those buckets have to be filled first. But the way that you saw in the prior slides, the cash just isn't going to keep up over time with the purchasing power. Now you'll be able to sleep at night. It's going to be there, but that's again, like, we don't want to go broke safely. We don't want to erode your purchasing power so that everything costs you double and triple because it didn't keep up with inflation. So for the short term money, keep it there and keep it as liquid as possible.
Thank you. Florence wanted to know, when you're widowed and receiving Social Security, do you not keep your own Social Security, but receive the Social Security death benefit of your spouse, or do you receive both?
You only receive one. You receive the higher of the two.
Okay. And Laura wants to know, can you advise people who live in Connecticut?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
It's
Laura,
not that far. The world has gotten a lot smaller. And I actually go to Connecticut. So, but not all the time, but there's nice places in Connecticut to go. But yes, we do.
Okay, terrific. So I did share Donna's contact information in the chat. It's here on the screen, and we'll also get an email tomorrow with it. So certainly if you want to take the next step, that's the best next step. And as she said, Zoom takes her everywhere. So
yeah. And I will share that quote on my phone that just got me all emotional. If you want me to send it out to you guys, I just thought it was very powerful, but I really do mean it. We are in this together, and everybody's facts are not the same. But as women, we definitely face many, many, many of the same challenges. And you're not alone, even though we've been alone a lot this last year. And yeah, we can do this together.
Cheers. What a beautiful way, I think, to bring this incredible workshop to a close. Donna, thank you so much. This information, I was taking notes the whole time. This information was so valuable. As I shared with everybody, this has been recorded. You will get the link and you will be able to watch it again and again and pause it and really study this information. But better yet, you'll also get Donna's contact information so you can reach out to her individually so she can really help with your specifics, because everyone is so different. I want to thank you all for joining us today. Donna, again, precious, precious information. Donna will send you that wonderful quote that was so touching and brought many of us to tears. Look forward to having you all on a future webinar. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe and stay healthy.
I'll see you in April.
That's right. And don't forget, April 28th, we are going to be sending you the link so that you can join, and we're going to take a deeper dive into asset protection and estate planning. So please be sure to join us. We will certainly send you that link so you can do that right away. We'll look forward to seeing you then.
Bye, everyone.